Hello, welcome to Skip Squad Chronicles with me, your host, Dizzy Skips. Every episode, I sit down with someone from our amazing jump rope community to hear their unique story, the ups, the downs, and all the skips in between. Join us as we share laughs, insights, and the spirit that makes this community truly one of a kind. Let's jump right in. Ladies and gentlemen, cats and kittens, this is episode 2 of the Skip Squad Chronicles podcast, starring Janie Mac and me, your host, Dizzy Skips. I started skipping in early 2024 and found this remarkably uplifting jump rope community. The folks in this community are so supportive and fun and have changed my life for the better in so many ways. Several weeks ago, I was skipping on a limestone bench and had this idea. I wanted to know more about my jump rope friends, and when we're only connected on Instagram, it takes time to get to know one another with a maximum of 90 seconds on a reel or 15-second stories or occasional DMs and comments feeds. So I thought, what better way to get to know folks than to rope them into an interview where I can have a fun convo and find out what makes our fellow jumpers and shufflers tick. So in our second skip session today, I'm thrilled to talk to my friend Janie Mac. She's so fun, a fantastic skipper. If you don't know Janie already, you need to. Find her on Instagram at Janie on the Jump. I'll put her link in the show notes. So let's jump right in. Janie, thank you so much for joining me on our second episode.
Dizzy, I am so happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Yes, this is great. I pointed out before we started, I'm wearing one of my Janie ropes. I have this little habit of making ropes, and this model is named after you. Um, can you, can you tell the audience when you started jumping, like, and why?
Yes. So I started jumping about, I think I'm right at my 6 month mark, maybe a little bit over. Um, I have kind of a funny, my initial, interaction with jump rope was like everyone else, like seeing Lauren jumps to it on Instagram. So I started watching some of her videos, and like everyone, I was like, wow, I have never seen jump rope done like this. And so Instagram not only I think kept pushing me like Lauren jumps videos, but also other people who were doing it as well. So I started seeing all this jump rope stuff just on my personal Instagram. And I'm like, I like have to learn how to do this. This is so cool looking. So this is back like around last holiday season, like around it was in January, like mid-January, I would say. Um and so I ordered my jump ropes on Amazon. I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do this. So I'm doing it in my very small Chicago shoebox apartment. And I did it for about 3 days. It was like 3 hour long sessions of doing it, like literally in my studio apartment. And I was doing it without shoes on a yoga mat. And after the third day, I like couldn't walk on my foot at all. And I just thought that maybe I'd overdone it. Like I wasn't really thinking about it. And then I just, for the next couple days, like I was having trouble walking. So I later found out that I got a stress fracture in my foot pretty much immediately. So then I couldn't do anything. Yeah, I couldn't do anything for I was like in a boot, like I didn't do any type of workout for like 3 months. So I was so excited because I had done like the first 3 days. I was learning heel taps and just, running in place and stuff like that, just having so much fun, totally just vibing, which I feel like is so much of what jump rope is about. So it took a lot of kind of discipline for me to not rush back into, jumping when I was like so excited to do it. But I really knew, I think I had a feeling that like, I was really going to get invested in this and saw it kind of working out and saw it sticking. So I was willing to kind of wait it out. And then, so I consider my real start date like mid-April, which is when I came back from the January stress fracture, kind of sucked it up for winter and early spring, and then came and hit it hard in April.
That's awesome. Our stories are so similar. I did the same thing. It was during the holiday season, more like Thanksgiving, where I think I was on YouTube watching videos and I got a Lauren Jumps video suggested to me. And then I sat there and watched her for probably 3 hours, like
Yeah.
video after video and replaying them going, oh my God, this is amazing. I have to do it. Like, how do you do this? And then I went and bought, or I had a couple jump ropes and I bought a couple more. And I went out in the driveway and jumped for 2 hours on Christmas Eve and I think like 3 hours on Christmas Day. And or Christmas night, I should say. And I gave myself plantar fasciitis. I hurt myself so bad I couldn't walk for like 6 weeks. And during that 6 weeks, all I wanted to do was jump and shuffle.
Yep.
I just
Yep.
wanted to dance. And I was watching these videos and going, oh my God, Lauren, Katie, all these people are just so crazy good, and I want to do this. But
Yes. That's so
Yeah.
funny. I didn't realize that you also had a major injury at the start of it.
Yeah, it was crazy, and literally, I couldn't. Like my father passed away a year and a half ago, and and he had Alzheimer's, and at the end, he had like a walker, and he had a cane and stuff, and so my stepmom brought me his cane and said, I can bring you the walker, and I was like, God, my pride can't take that. You just keep the walker. I'll try the cane a little bit. But I would get out of bed in the morning and hit the floor on my hands and knees and crawl to the bathroom because it was too painful. And I finally went to the hospital and they gave me some stuff and it just took a while. But so
Helped you
you
through
are
it.
a fast learner. Like I am so impressed with watching you jump on Instagram. Like, um, how often are you practicing? And like, what's your practice routine like?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I am out there pretty much every day, weather permitting. I live in Chicago. I live not quite in the downtown area, but in kind of the surrounding neighborhoods. Um, so I'm really close to Lake Michigan, which is where I've been doing pretty much all of my jumping, all of my learning this summer. And I'm spending a lot of time at the lake, probably, I mean, at least an hour, I'd say, probably closer to 2 hours. And of course, there's a lot of like break time, a lot of downtime, a lot of time I'm on my phone, either watching like what I'm trying to learn on video of me doing it so that I can learn how to do it the right way, or watching what I'm trying to learn, tutorials and stuff. So there's certainly a lot of break time, but yeah, I'm at the lake so much and so often, and I've dealt with other injuries just from overuse out of like seriously just enjoying my time there so much, and just finding so much fun in the process. So it doesn't really feel like discipline or like I'm really honestly working that hard, because I'm just, like I said, totally vibing, just having so much fun doing it.
Yeah. I think of it a lot like meditation for me. Like I say this, I think even in my bio that I jump for meditation and mental health is part of why I do it. And I love that part of jumping where you just lose time and you just flow. When I was in high school, I had a physics teacher who was an ice climber. I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska, and so he and the gym teacher took me ice climbing one weekend, and all of the ice that they would climb was waterfalls around Anchorage that were named after cheap wines like Ripple and Thunderbird and stuff like that. And so we were climbing Thunderbird, and I asked my physics teacher, like, why do you do this? Like, why do you like this so much? And he said, because when I'm hanging off of ice with pick and crampons, I'm not thinking about grading your paper or that kid that acted up in class yesterday. It's meditation for me. And I get it. And that's what jump rope is for me too.
Yeah, there's definitely that element of just kind of like really being able to disconnect. And it's really, I think what I like love about jump rope too is it's such an individual journey. Everyone has their own style. I could be impressed with 100 different people for 100 different reasons for like what they're able to do with a jump rope. So there's a sense of competition, right? Which elicits kind of the learning process. That's how you get better, by being competitive and having, a sense of discipline and a sense of routine with it. But it's also just like about you. And there's no one telling you what to learn. There's no one telling you, what you have to do or how long you have to stay or how much work you have to put in. I'm coming from an angle of, or really like a lifetime of competitive sports, and also a lot of difficulty with mental health, which I speak about very openly, and have done a lot of work to work through, some things that were really pressing, and jump rope and finding a healthy relationship with exercise, in the sense that it's so fun and it doesn't feel hard or difficult or any of the old things I think that exercise used to mean for me. And I just love that. I totally agree with the concept of it being like meditation, and just time for yourself, time to invest in yourself, which can be hard to find if you don't have something that you love. Like, it's really given me an avenue of feeling like I'm doing something good for myself because I'm prioritizing something that brings me so much joy and is so good for me at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. I think you posted a video, was it yesterday, of you doing consecutive running releases and you got
Yes.
up to 14 and challenged
Yes.
several people to do it. And I went out last night and I was practicing releases, but since the sun goes down so early now, I have to get out like right after work, and I've only got this window of like an hour, hour and a half before the sun goes down. And so I was practicing releases a little bit, and I just clocked myself in the face good with the handle once. And I think several weeks ago you posted something about like the problem with my ropes where they were heavy, and you hit yourself in the face too.
Yes, I took an absolute beating with the Janie jump rope. They don't show you any mercy. It's like everything is a very difficult, right? When you learn the way that like the rope moves, it's all very precise angles, and there are so many like close calls, so many like near misses, but every once in a while it just comes, and like I always get it like right at my cheekbone. I feel like when I get hit in the face, which is seriously often, it is in my bio for a reason that I am humbled by many whips to the head. And so I always take it to like the cheekbone, and I get these like big goosebumps like right on the side of my face that just like last not long, really, for just like the rest of the night. Like I don't even notice it the next day, but it hurts. It
Oh
hurts like
man.
so bad to just get slapped by a jump rope. So
Yeah.
humbling.
Yeah. I took one in the face from my Janie jump rope last week and bruised my face for a few days.
Yeah.
I was trying to go really fast.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
how
find
do you warm up?
um I I have my warm up routine has changed drastically in the sense that I actually have one now. Um, I was not doing any warm ups before and have dealt with a lot of other just kind of nagging stuff like in my body. I have really bad tendonitis in my shoulder, which has made learning releases very hard. I think I would have learned everything. I took it really slow. I did a lot of footwork, a lot of like little choreos at first. Um, and finally got around to learning the Mick release, maybe like around 2 months in or something like that, early summer. And I finally started getting it, which was seriously like the biggest thrill of my entire life. Like being able to start catching it, being able to start putting releases, stringing it with other things, just felt like it elevated my jump rope game so much. And I was like, wait, this is like actually super cool. This is impressive that I'm learning how to do this, right? And I just think that the repeated use of spinning it with my right arm gave me so much shoulder pain to the point where I couldn't even like lift my arm up all the way. I was having to like reroute things like this. I was just not taking care of myself at all. I was going so hard. I wasn't icing it. I wasn't prioritizing a warm up. So I knew that I was going to want to learn more than the Mick release. And I knew that I was going to have to like actually take care of my shoulder in order to get there. And so I work in a hospital. I'm a speech pathologist, so I work with a lot of physical therapists and occupational therapists. A couple of my friends and my dad too, gotta give him a shout out. He's also a physical therapist, so he helps me with a lot of stuff. But a couple of my friends at work like gave me some exercises to start doing. They gave me like a really small place to start with a warm up. And I was like freaking out. I'm like so like high strung sometimes. And I was like, I'm never going to learn this. My shoulder's never going to feel better. I'm never going to be able to lift up my arm again. And everyone was like, you just literally need to relax and like start doing like a very basic warm up, ice it a little bit, and it'll feel better. So I now do like a set of shoulder exercises, like different stuff. And then same thing with my heel. I was having, or like really my Achilles tendon. So I do stuff like that to warm it up. And I actually take care of, I really focus on the mind to muscle connection because I'm like, you just have that kind of understanding, I think, like as you grow up, that it's just important to take care of your body. And I'm like, yeah, I could rush the warm up process, or I could just do it the right way and like preserve myself in that way. So I started taking it, a lot more seriously, which has just really helped. And it certainly has helped me learn some new releases and some ways to progress. And then of course I have at least like a 10 to 12 minute rollerblade to the lake every day. That's, I guess, would consider part of my warm up.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, that's it, I'd say. Then I get into jumping.
So I was thinking about you earlier, and I'm in Minnesota where it gets cold in the winter, and Chicago doesn't. It's not warm in the winter, right? Like, so what are your
No, it
plans
is
when it gets
not.
really cold? Are you going to still jump at the lake?
No, so I have no plans to continue jumping at the lake. Once it starts to get, I can kind of handle the cold. I'm not super sensitive, I think, to that. The winds get much worse much, much worse as it gets colder. So the wind is hard, but it's also going to start getting really dark really soon. So I will not be putting myself in any dangerous positions in the city. And luckily, I have a friend who lives very close to where I work. Who has lives in just a beautiful high-rise apartment with a gym and like a yoga studio room on the top floor, that he is just so graciously letting me kind of borrow for these winter months. I
Lovely.
kind of wanted to, yeah, I wanted to avoid a gym membership just because I feel like I'm only going to need it for these winter months. And I just love, like, if you know me, you know I love just being outside. So he's going to let me borrow his gym for the winter months, which I think will be kind of a nice change of pace. I'll miss the water, but I think I'll also really look forward to not having like weather interference with my jumping.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my winter plan for the time
Cool.
being. Shut up, Brady.
Yeah. I have. I've been to Chicago a lot, and I have been in. The wind is no joke. You know.
It's not. That wind is not playing around and it will humble you. And your jump rope game very quickly. I posted a story a couple days ago that said it's literally like someone is just playing defense against you when you're trying to jump rope. It just will mess you up. It'll come out of nowhere. It'll be gusty and then it'll be nothing. So you just
Yeah.
gotta kind of let it humble you. Part of the process.
Yeah. I skip on these limestone benches, and one of them that is my favorite is it never takes wind head on. It's always from one of the sides. And so I go out there and I try and do a release, and the thing just flies back at me. I can only do them on one side. Um,
Yeah. The wind is can really influence just the way that the rope flows and the way that it moves. So I kind of sometimes have to set my expectations. I check the wind speeds before I leave, and I'm like, okay, today just like might not be a release day, and that's okay.
yeah.
That is okay. We will survive.
So when you're not, you mentioned releases and how important that was for you to learn and how fun that felt. But what's another thing that you learned where you were like thrilled?
Yeah, I think the Mick release led to a lot of things for me. I right now am just simply captivated by doing the Mamba. And there's so many ways. The Mamba, if you're not familiar, is basically the Mick release on both sides. So you're just bringing the rope this way, and then you're twisting your wrist in the opposite direction on the other side, and it kind of goes back and forth like an infinity symbol.
Hmm.
And I'm just having like a blast with the Mamba, finding different ways to enter the Mamba, to exit the Mamba, and just really playing around with it. So I think the nice thing about learning, like jump rope, there's such a steep learning curve. Learning simple things at first is so hard. It's like so painstaking. Um, Even for like kind of the basic stuff like heel taps or toe touch it, like simple stuff. But
Yeah.
as you get better, you learn harder things way quicker because you're just same thing with the mic release. Like it took me, I felt like a while. I was just doing it wrong for like 2 weeks of practice, and I was like, I'm not getting any better at this. Once I kind of figured that out, there were a lot of people I reached out to online who just helped me tweak different things. And then once I finally learned the release, then learning everything else like was so much easier because I already knew how to do this hard thing. You just learn kind of how the rope moves, and as you get better, it gets easier to learn harder things. It's just
Right.
so cool.
Yeah, I agree. And don't you feel like you also get as you are progressing, you get a better baseline of skills. So like for example, I noticed my balance is insane now compared to when I started. Like I can stand in the shower on one foot and reach down and grab the soap. And
Yes.
that kind of stuff. And when you have that base of strength in your legs and your ankles and stuff, then it makes some of that other stuff easier as well. And I
Yeah,
think there's so
totally.
much to the timing too, don't you think? Like being
Yes.
able to, like my jump rope coach, he made a big deal out of saying, I want you to do single hand swings on both sides every time you start practicing. Like get good at that, get good at just handling that. And part of that is like working both sides of your brain, I think, and getting both, into a little more rhythm or
Yeah.
cohesive.
Yeah, there's so much coordination that's needed for it. I will have just sometimes people will stop me. I'm jumping in a really public spot. So people will stop, It's fine. I'm not really, I always say I'm like not there to make friends. But people will stop and a lot of people are really nice. And of course I'm like a very nice and friendly person and I enjoy encounters and meeting people for sure. There's just a lot of, I think, unwarranted things that come with that come with kind of putting yourself out there. Um, but it's just it's so fun, I feel like, to learn new things. And I feel like when people stop and ask to try the rope, or I'll have friends who will stop by and like just kind of try it out, everyone says the same thing, which is like, wait, this is like way harder than it looks. Right? That's everyone's first thought. And just like it was, it's our first thought as we learn new things. The people that we learn from are making it look easy because they're getting good at it. And so with that baseline, with that foundation, everything just looks less effortful, like less labor, because you get better at it, you get more skilled and more graceful, and that comes with like making it look easier. So I always find that that's a response people give me is like, wait, this is like not as easy as it looks. So you don't realize how much coordination you really need for it.
Yeah, yeah, you're totally right. It reminded me of I, in the when I started jumping in the winter when it was cold here. I wasn't jumping out on those limestone benches because the park was cold, and there's this place called the Bandshell, which is basically like a little outdoor auditorium that I would go jump at. And one night I went down there and I didn't, it was dark. And so I got up on the stage and then realized there were like seven people up there on the stage. And it was this group of kids, kids, they were younger than I. They were probably in their late teens or early 20s or something. And they had sleeping bags and they were just like hanging out. And I just said, all right, if I jump over here? And they said, no, no problem. And I think they're just getting high and having fun. And at one point, they come up and one of them says, like, dude, can I jump? And so I gave him a jump rope, and I had, a ridiculous number of ropes with me. So I got a heavy rope and an
One for everyone.
eight-weighted rope, and yeah. And so all of these high kids are out there going flop, flop. Oh my God, this is so hard, and whacking themselves. And I'm trying to like, yeah, keep your hands in a little bit more. It'll be
Yeah.
easier for
That's
you.
a
Yeah.
hilarious story.
It feels like as a kid, like on the playground, I feel like I could jump forever.
Hmm.
And then as an adult, it's like, oh my God, this is hard.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. But it's part of um the challenge that comes with it, I think. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Do you have days where you don't feel like jumping and you just kind of have to make yourself?
I really don't. I think I struggle more honestly with taking days to rest and take, coming home from work and being like, you know what, I'm just not gonna do that today. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that I'm just a very routine oriented person. I do really well on a schedule, and I think just part of like what I need to feel well on a daily basis is some form of movement. And I think I have this kind of, a very renewed perspective on what it means to be healthy and what it means to, um, have discipline in a balanced way rather than a way that is unhealthy. I've, struggled a lot with my relationship, like I said, with exercise and with food, and just kind of having a dominant sense of, just being a workhorse, right? I've always been a hard worker. I've always poured so much energy into what I'm doing at the time. But that really started to, right? I started being unable to not do that if I didn't want to do it. So learning to find balance is just something that I don't think I'll ever take for granted. And I think that with jump rope, right, because it's so fun, I feel motivated to do it, but it doesn't have a sense of like, I have to do this or I'll feel bad if I don't do this. I never have that. So it's an interesting combination of doing it so often and every day, but just out of like true enjoyment for it.
Yeah. It's magic. I I said when I was talking to Andrea the other day that I saw there's this guy that runs by me oftentimes when I'm out jumping. He runs and he's got his dog with him, and I just think running looks so boring now. Like after jumping rope and dancing with the rope, it's just so fun. Like running just seems miserable to me.
I could not agree more. I used to joke that, like, I don't know why people are still running when rollerblades are available to buy.
Right, right.
You could just get rollerblades, it's way more fun, and it's pretty much as good of a workout. But now I feel that way about rollerblading. Even now, rollerblading seems a little mundane, a little monotone, and just not nearly as fun as jumping rope.
Yeah. So, what about music? I think we've talked a little bit about music in DMs and stuff like that. What sort of music gets you in the zone? And do you always jump with music?
Yes, I'm always jumping to music. I am always kind of just dancing and mouthing to myself and am so just in my zone, I think, when I'm jumping. But I have I would say kind of an eclectic taste in music. I really like the indie scene of music. I always laugh at when your like Spotify Wrapped comes out, my like top genres are always like dream shimmer, indie pop, pop dance, like all of these
Dream Shimmer.
sparkly, like all of these like ridiculous like subgenres of music. I would describe my music as very just like feel good. I'll listen to a pop song every now and then, but you won't find a lot of that in my playlists. I have a pretty rigorous music finding routine, and I always have new music. I really prioritize like what I'm listening to because music is really important to me. It's definitely a big passion of mine. So yeah, like I said, I guess I just always call my music like feel good indie music, and I think you could pretty easily get a sense of that from watching like a couple of my videos.
Yeah. Do you like have a special playlist that you add songs to jump to?
Nope, I don't really have a specific jump playlist. I bounce around. I'm like a huge fan of my Discover Weekly, so I listen to my Discover Weekly every week, and I also listen to my younger brother's Discover Weekly because I find a lot of good music in his.
Mm.
And I'll make notes of songs that I like from my Discover Weekly over like 2 months worth, 3 months worth of time. And so then I'll download a bunch of new songs to a Spotify playlist. So I have this like big influx of like new music, and it makes
Yeah.
like walking, it makes exercising, makes doing anything like feel kind of euphoric with all this new music. So I just have these massive like 10-hour long playlists that I just restart like at a 10-hour mark and just do that indefinitely. So I go back and forth between old music and new music that I'm finding and stuff like that.
That's cool. By the way, do you mind if I call you Dream Shimmer from now on? I think
You can definitely call me Dream Shimmer. That might have to be a new alter ego.
my favorite is Damage Genie.
Damaged Genie. You'll have to
Yeah.
explain that
Yes,
to our
I guess I can
listeners.
explain that. So, Janie is so nice that she expressed concern of me jumping on these limestone benches that I would fall off and hurt myself. And I quickly said, "Oh, Janie, I'm on these benches all the time. I, I've got so much practice, it's not really an issue." Or I said something to that effect. And then the next day I fell off 5 times, like one after the other, just over and over again. And every time I did it, I'd say, "Damn it, Janie." And it became a habit. So now every time I fall, you take the brunt of it. And but when I am sometimes when I'm writing comments on Instagram, I'm dictating to Siri on my phone. So I'll, click in the little field and say, "Damn it, Janie," blah blah blah, and it always translates it as "damaged genie," and so that tickles me as well. So I've called you "damaged genie" as well.
Such a good translation from Siri.
Right. Yeah. Do you, so, one problem that I have when listening to music and jumping is remembering what song that I'm jumping to. Like, the problem with me going in with a huge playlist is that if it just goes from one song to the other, sometimes like I'll go back to the previous song and then I have to watch the video and watch for those times where I'm either mouthing the words or singing along to it or warbling along to it or whatever, or it's so stupid. Like I have to deliberately go up to the camera and go, bad liar, and then go jump to bad liar. But you don't seem to have that problem.
No, I'm curious, Dizzy. Do you do you pick a song that you're going to choreograph to? Like, do you plan your
Never
music kind of
choreograph.
ahead? No.
I've
Okay,
never
so
choreographed.
everything's freestyle.
No, everything's freestyle, but I do pick music. So I have a playlist on Spotify that I call Tonight's Jump, and I just add songs to that and take songs off of that. So after I've jumped to them, I'll take them off, and then I have my liked list that is super big, and I'll just take things off of that and substitute it in however I feel like, or whatever I'm feeling like for the day. But um, yeah.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah, the problem, so I honestly try to keep my playlist to like no more than 7 songs because it can be hard for me to figure out what I was jumping to. Although, like you mentioned, mouthing words and stuff, but I can't tell you the number of times I've watched video and I sing out loud, or I'll be singing along to the song, and then I'll see someone walking in the background, in the video, and I had no idea that they were there, but I'm warbling to whatever it is.
Just vibing in your own
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't really choreograph at all. I think of it as like channeling the music. I find music that really hits me, and I just move. And sometimes it works out well. Yesterday night I went out, and the first song that I was trying to jump to, it was like I had two left feet, nothing was working or
Mm.
whatever. And the next song that came on, it was like it's right there, and I just felt it, and I moved, and I had so much fun. I kind of lost myself.
I love that. Just kind of being like intuitive and doing, I don't know, just going in the moment. I love that. I don't
Yeah.
really, I'll choreograph. I'm kind of, I think, the opposite of you because I don't really freestyle. I like need a plan. I need to like basically memorize a routine or
Mm.
have sometimes I'll do like little flows, which is just like a simple footwork a couple of times. Um, but I need to be like, I can't just freestyle it. I need like a focus plan on what I'm doing. Like down to the every movement, but then I'll put it to music later and I'll just kind of hope that it looks, there's usually like I'll align something with a beat drop and that's like about it. You know what I mean? So I kind of will just see the music comes much later for me. Like I'll be dancing or jumping or whatever I'm doing in the moment. And then I
Ah,
think the song that comes with it later is like random.
got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm often like very much on the beat, like I notice even when I'm listening to music and I'm walking through the park, inadvertently I am walking in step to the beat. Like my body will just flow with the beat, and I don't
Oh my
even think
gosh.
about it. It's weird.
I envy that because I like have my teammates in college used to make fun of me for having no sense of rhythm. They would
Really?
literally challenge me to find the beat of a song by clapping and I couldn't find the beat. I couldn't ever keep a beat. Like I don't
Oh,
have a
really?
rhythmic sense of yeah, so I think the footwork's been really fun, but a
Mm.
challenge too because I'm not and I don't have any confidence in like dance. Like that was always never something that I felt like I was good at or could do. So it's kind of challenging this self-limiting belief that like I'm not good at dancing or I'm not good at moving in this way. But I do really envy you because I don't have a natural sense of rhythm, and find that to be a big challenge just in doing stuff like this.
Interesting. I never would have thought that because I feel like you move with great rhythm. But yeah,
Well, thank you.
I've said online before that sometime in the last year I lost my shame, and so I take the dog for a walk and I dance through town. I dance everywhere, and I just and I never did before. I didn't dance before a year ago, really at all, ever, because I was just worried about what people would think of me, and it's just so stupid. Like I let other people have the power over what my happiness. And it truly, like, I love dancing and I love singing and stuff like that. And now I just do it, and fucking if they don't like it, I'll have to
I
bleep that. Sorry.
no, I love that. No, I remember reading a caption of yours. And was also surprised to read that was something that really, I think, prevented you maybe from just being your most authentic self is kind of a fear. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just a fear of judgment, right? Of looking silly or, I remember your specific examples, like wearing a pink shirt. Like, will people think this? Dancing in public, will people think that? And part of what like I love about your jump rope style, like I said, everyone has their own, but yours brings with it such confidence and such like that shameless sense of like, I'm just doing this for me. And
Yeah.
what anyone thinks about me, right, is none of my business. That's like one of my favorite quotes. Like, I don't have any business thinking about what other people think about me because it doesn't matter. So I remember being surprised and really, touched and moved by your caption on how much
Thanks.
you've broken free from that self-limiting mindset. And like yeah just am moved by that transition I think in the way that you live your life.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's meant a lot to me, and I feel like the last year has been one of the most fun years I've ever had in my life. It has been the most fun I can remember. The jumping and being able to dance and like I did say in a video a while back that sometimes when I'm dancing through town, there are kids hanging out of cars with their phones filming me, and I get whistles and jeers, and that's great, but I'm doing it for me. And, it feels good when people like it. I'd rather that than they call me names. But I feel
That's
like we
fair.
should all be able to kind of be, get to that place where, we realize that you're in charge of your happy, and, what I think of you is my business basically, and it shouldn't affect you.
Right. I love that. I love that.
So being so competitive and such a sports person, do you set specific goals for yourself, like with jump rope, like, hey, this week I'm going to learn the mic release, or I'm going to learn this?
No,
Nope.
I, nope. I don't even really have a plan on what I'm doing until I get to the water. And I'm like, what do I want to learn today? Sometimes I'll have, if I'm learning a specific, choreo routine that'll take me, I've learned a couple of Lauren jumps that take me like literally a week to learn. So sometimes I'll have like, okay, I'm just getting back to this, but it's never the same thing in a session. I'm always kind of working on like several things at once because I can't just do the same thing over and over again. I'll get bored of it or frustrated or like
Right.
I don't know if everyone else feels this way. Trying to learn the toad, that under the leg basically crossover, has been by far the hardest thing I've ever learned. And my patience for it at this point is so small. I will like whip myself in the back 3 times in a row and be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore today. I'm coming back to this later. And I think I love that about jump rope, that when you start to hit this frustration peak and you're like, I just like want to give up, like you can just move on to something new that bring, or sometimes I'll just go back to old stuff that helps me feel confident, helps me feel fast, things that I don't really have to think about. Cause sometimes that's what the enjoyment of it is. So sometimes it's putting all this focus into learning something new, but sometimes it's relaxing and just finding a really simple flow. And you can kind of go off your mood, which I love. I don't have goals. I just go based on what I want to do and how I feel about doing it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You've mentioned that you kind of looked at your phone and watched videos of yourself and other people in order to learn. Do you have other methods that you've used to learn? Like, do you have a coach or an app or books or things like that?
No, I probably could have made the process a little easier by following like some type of, app, I or certainly having a coach, but I've just kind of self-taught myself everything, which
Good.
has provided like an easy, not easy. Actually, there are parts of it that make it really hard because I don't really, what I've come to do now is I'll see something that I want to learn, and if I can't figure it out on my own, it usually starts as like I save it in some folder on Instagram or to my camera roll, and so I'll try to learn it myself, which I can do with a lot of things. Certainly, a lot of footwork. By screen recording and kind of dragging it frame by frame, but certain things that you just like, I like always like call to the jump rope gods of Instagram, and I'll send it to people, or people who are willing to help you, who have already learned it themselves and can help critique you. So I've kind of gotten this, from super generous people with their time and energy who have helped me learn things. But other than that, I've kind of just followed, I'm sure I followed a very natural progression of getting into footwork, eventually getting into releases and stuff, but I don't have any of the apps. I don't have a coach. I just kind of have been able to teach myself a lot of what I've learned, or have gone to people who already know how to do it, who have been immense helps and, provided assistance and kind of getting me to where I am now. And certainly what else there is to come.
That's terrific. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask you was about the jump rope community and what it's done for you, because like I was very impressed when I first connected with you and would read the captions in your reels, and you were so positive, and you would say things like, I love you, I mean it, and stuff like that. And I thought that is just so sweet because, I love these people too, and it's okay to say that. And so I'd like to ask you, like, what has the jump rope community done for you, or being part of it done for you? Because I think you are a really shining example of what it can be.
Well, thank you. I just geek out on the jump rope community. I think the buy-in happened like so quickly. I decided I had just been posting when I first got into jump rope, like really simple stuff, and I'd put it to music and I'd post it on my personal Instagram story. And, my friends or people that just followed me, that I know from personal life would be like, wow, this is like really cool. And after like the third or fourth day of doing that, way back, one of my old teammates from high school basketball was like, girl, like, quit playing. Like, you got to make your own account. You got to put all this stuff somewhere. Like, you are already progressing so quickly. You're only going to get better. You might as well like document the journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, say less. Like, I was at work the next day. My coworkers were helping me brainstorm a username. And so I made the jump rope Instagram, and I ended up just slowly, but really not that slowly, like really actually quickly connecting with people, finding people. And you just learn so quickly how nice everyone is and how everyone started the same way, which was basically not knowing how to jump rope, right? Other than
Mhm.
the basic bounce, maybe running in place, or, some people, I never did CrossFit, but I feel like some people know how to do double unders or other
Mhm.
crossovers, stuff like that. Um, but you realize that everyone really starts in this place of not really knowing what they're doing and having to put in a lot of time to learn. And you just connect with people that way. And I've certainly just embraced being part of the community because it's brought me so much joy. And, Dizzy, I have the same thoughts about, I wonder what like my friends are thinking about this, or I wonder if people think all my posts are annoying or that it's kind of stupid or whatever. And I just remind myself how much joy it's brought me and how many connections I've made, people who've come here, we've jumped together. I'll be in Indianapolis this weekend. I'm meeting up with some people there. Like,
Nice.
being able to make these relationships and certainly connecting with people online has brought me a lot of joy. And I'm like, not going to say sorry for that. So
Yeah,
to buy in and to kind of commit to the process brings you all these people along the way. And it's really special. It's something that's actually really cool to be a part of.
right. Yeah, it's this cool little corner of the internet where everything is positive and people are
Yeah.
patting each other on the back and saying, you can do
Yeah.
it, you know? And
Yeah.
even when I started out and I posted my first videos, I'm a world away from where I was then. And it was minutes before Jenny Just Jumped gave me a comment and said, "You're
Love
doing
her.
great." I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, I, what advice or experience would you give people who are just starting out, like, and in
That's a
that
good
place?
question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I think the most obvious advice is to keep going, right? To not stop. The more, kind of like what I was saying before, right? The more you learn, the more capable you are of learning, continuing
Right.
to learn. You learn,
Sure.
it's such a steep learning curve, but I think so many people build so much confidence through that learning curve that by the time they get to the point, like, I mean, I've been stumped certainly by a couple things, but kind of at this place where I'm fairly confident I can learn whatever I want to learn, right? I've learned so
Nice.
many things by this point. I know just putting in the time will get me there. So I think telling jumpers, baby jumpers, new jumpers to trust in the process long enough to get to a point where they feel that confidence. Seeing people post about their goals and the things that they're accomplishing is so inspiring. And I think just reminding everyone that it just takes time, right? There's people will, tell me I'm a fast learner, but I'm out there for 2 hours a day, right? It's a lot of time so maybe it's an expedited learning process, but it takes me a long time too, right? There's so many hours and minutes and everything that's gone into the process. So I'd want to encourage people to just be patient and the confidence will come, right? Your ability to get better will be there. And I think that, that would probably be the first thing I'd start with
Yeah.
for new jumpers.
I think that's great. And don't you feel like it kind of snowballs too? Like once you start building confidence and you get, oh, I can do a basic shuffle or something like that, then you're like, oh my gosh. And now I have that feeling you have, like, yeah, I'm no good at the release right now. I can hit it sometimes, but I will get good at it because I'm going to put
Yeah.
in the time.
Yep.
And yeah. So I have to know because I have these cravings after I work out hard. Um, do you have any cravings or are there any guilty pleasures that you indulge in after a hard workout?
I would say not specifically after a workout. I usually come home and like it's like time for dinner because I'm like jumping rope after work, but I will shamelessly endorse the fact that I have a ice cream sundae every single night before bed. I've been
Nice.
doing this for years. I've tried stopping multiple times, and I always come back to the conclusion that life is just way too short. And if
Yes.
I want to have ice cream every night, I'm gonna do that. I think jumping has been, in addition to the confidence, kind of we were just talking about, you learn that it's a really good workout, and I think that that's liberalized, right? Having a great workout has liberalized other areas of my life for me,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I don't know that I get any specific cravings like after I'm done, but I'm making sure that my hunger cues and my cravings are being honored pretty much all the time. And I think I would credit activities like jumping rope and finding new ways to build confidence and a stronger sense of self is what allows me to feel like true freedom in my everyday life and a peace of mind when it comes to the things that I'm doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've taken up way too much of your time, I'm sure, but this has been so fun. I just adore you and I love talking to you. And I want to thank you for coming on the show and for being you and for just contributing so much to the community because you mean a lot to me and I know you mean a lot to a lot of other people as well, Janie. So thank you for being you.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words. Likewise, I'm sure we could sit here and chit chat for hours, but
Yes.
I feel, I echo all those same sentiments. I always say I'm just so happy to be here, and I really mean that I'm happy to be here. I'm really happy to have, come across people like you who just bring a positive energy to my life and to the lives of others in such a cool virtual way, right? We've never met in person before, but we're all developing these relationships and finding people that are important to us. So I echo all those same sentiments, and I'm just so happy to be here. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I didn't realize this was episode 2. I can't
Yeah.
wait to listen, can't wait to learn about all of our jump rope friends.
Yeah. I announced, I woke up strangely at midnight on the dot and could not get back to sleep. So I just worked for like 3 hours. And one of the things I did was just announce that I'm going to release the first 3 episodes next Wednesday, which is All Hallows Eve. So on the 30th.
Okay,
So
love that.
I'm going to do them all at the same time so people can get hooked, a little bit, and
Yes,
then do them one a week after that. So
that's nice. I think that's a great idea. I'll be just so excited to listen to the
yeah,
stories of other people, other jumpers.
yeah. Well, thank you again, Janie. I really appreciate your being on the show.
Absolutely, Dizzy. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Likewise. Hey, thanks for hanging with us on the Skip Squad Chronicles. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next one. And let's keep the Skip Squad growing. Tell a friend, drop a comment, hit like, favorite, and share it on social. I'd really appreciate it. Catch you on the next Skip-tastic episode. That's so stupid.